As of last week, I began recording Tuesday mornings. And as of yesterday, I was not able to fully download said episode. So I am building a bridge for our Wednesday gathered meditation. And I'm going to do it with the intentionality of it being easy breezy. Thank you for witnessing this transformation, for participating in this transition, and for witnessing today's celebration that will begin with 10 minutes of internal intentional meditation in a beautiful gathered, synchronistic gathered group. And it will conclude when the conversation is complete. Thank you for being part of what we are creating. As we slowly sit in to whatever we are creating for ourselves, allow ourselves to be witnessed in whatever has us being the best version, at least for no one else but ourselves. And as we give ourselves that concentration, allow yourself to find your foundation in wherever you are and wherever others may show. And for whatever vibrancy you choose to glow, allow it to have you setting your concentration before we begin our 10-minute of internal intentional practice in this group exploration. And as we choose to start our day, allow everything outside of this to melt away, at least momentarily, as we create our own intentionality of a word or words that are shaping and showing us where we continue to vote ours in the space to create the best version of ourselves, at least for today. And whether that word or words be shared from ourselves or contributed from what others will share in their selves, allow everything to be present and supported, at least in these 10 minutes. And whether you choose to share those words intentionally or vocally, allow them to be present now with divine harmony, at least in our gathered group of meditation.
Desire.
Soft.
Building bridges. Easy breezy.
Fuzzy. Receptive. Indulgent.
Complete.
As these thoughts and images swirl in one's own mind, allow them to feel beautiful and redefined, to fall and settle down beyond you as a standing platform, at least for 1 or 2 beautiful minutes that we allow ourselves ease and knowing that everything is a collection as we please to come into the awareness that we are already the best versions. And as we give ourselves this clearing from any aversion, allow yourself a new space to breathe in and reset and reconnect with one's own pace. And for any other additional words or word that's single in your mind, allow it a new place to redefine, at least in this opening as you continue and wherever you are spawning and supporting one's virtue to create community and not just what we see, but what we feel and exist in our reality in this collected knowing that we are in divine harmony. Breath. Congratulations on where you've arrived, setting everything else completely aside just to allow yourself to be in your space for these 10 minutes, whether it felt like a challenge or you fully embraced what you have to offer to yourself in any moment throughout the day. But at least for these 10, you chose to come here to play. And for as long as any one of us can stay, allow now to practice reciprocity, not just in where we are sharing our own voice, but what we're giving divine choice and what we are expressing and would like to share, and being very, very aware that not only is reciprocity a harmony to ourselves, but it's a gift that we give that will ripple way beyond where we can possibly know. And thank you so much for at least being part of today's beautiful practice before we must go and whatever the rest of our day may hold. Hmm. And like Sammy has mentioned, thank you so much for everyone being here. This evening, he will also be sharing a meditation. And again, for anyone who is here, know that you do not have to be on camera to be welcome. And at least with that, too, I think that is why I know that is why I sat in building bridges today, based on Becky's share yesterday of this beautiful conversation about how much our relationships are serving us. And it was interesting because today my conversation with my inner self, I didn't really see people, Becky. I don't know why I thought I was going to see people. I saw this big car. It was like longer than I've ever seen. It wasn't a limo. Um, and then behind it, like its wheels, it kind of kept bumping like it was on rocks. I don't know why. Um, Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know. I didn't get a color on the car. So as I was kind of like thinking, okay, I'm building relationships, maybe it's something that more than just seeing people, I'm also expressing what it means to be part of all the things that are made by people. And maybe the rocks are just significant of the world. So it was interesting because as soon as I switched to easy breezy, I kind of started seeing more of like myself. And at least with that, I still don't know what that means, but I like that I noticed two things about when I saw myself. I noticed that my ears, like, I don't know why, but they were a little bit more elfish. Um, and I was smiling. I think that was the biggest thing, because what I'm thinking, even as I'm sharing it right now, because I got to the midway reminder, I was like, okay, release all of that. I love that, however, I may be seen by others and how I see myself. 'Cause sometimes I wake up and Beyonce is like, I woke up like this, versus other days I'm like, I need to work on it a little bit. I like that even though the thing I noticed out of everything when I saw myself was my ears were different, that I still loved how I was. And so I think that's going to be my biggest message today, that I want to start in, is realizing I'm not just going to notice the relationships. I'm going to notice my interaction with my entire environment. And regardless of how I feel I might show up, I'm going to love the person I'm being and just return to breath. I am
I
complete.
love it. I love it. I love it. What was coming up for me during this whole meditation, I was thinking about um the work that I do. And like how this morning, like I scroll on social media and I have so many friends that do similar work as me. And I love the stuff that they're putting out there and I love everything that they're doing. And I know I don't put myself out there the way that my peers do. And there's a resistance that I can recognize about myself in that. Like there's something that holds me back and I'm still trying to work out what exactly that is. But I feel like, oh my gosh, like in that moment this morning, I know that my thought was, all my friends are doing such amazing, powerful, awesome things. Like, is me joining them really a contribution or not? Like, they're already doing this stuff. Like, this is already out there. Like, do I really need to put myself out there and like join in on this? Is this going to really serve as a contribution to the overall collective energy of everything that is going on? Like, and then, so during this meditation, I have this awareness of like a drum line, right? So like we sit there and we're just, you're drumming away and this is our little drum and it's not much special. And like if you're just sitting there drumming and you notice all your mistakes, you notice like, if you're like offbeat a little bit, you feel very, very vulnerable, just kind of like the lone drummer, like the little drummer boy, like it's like this very, very vulnerable position. But in a drum line, like each time another drummer is added in a drum line, the intensity increases, the power increases, the vibration increases, the more it takes notice. And then I start thinking about like steps, like, step dancing, like when you used to see like fraternities just do like step shows, like every single person that was there added to the moment. It rose the bar and it kept on raising the bar. And the more people that you saw doing this in community working together, the more powerful it became to watch, the more bigger crowd that it drew in, the more people really kind of enjoyed it and like celebrated what was happening there in that moment. And I had this awareness that I needed to start shifting my thought about putting myself out there in a more powerful present way as to joining the drum line, as to joining that kind of step movement and to know that, yeah, it does make a difference. It does make a difference and it's really freaking powerful. So it was a good awareness to have. Every morning that I look at Steve outside, I just want to go wherever you are. It's like there's this sort of charm, like there's a serenity that just surrounds him. And I just want to be in that space, like having coffee with you, like so much. So, where
Come
are
on
you,
over.
Steve? Where are you? Like in the country, where are
30
you?
miles north of St. Paul, Minnesota, out in kind of sticks, sort of. It's like we have woods, you can see them behind me. And then we have a lot of open property out front with a line of pine trees, you know. But yeah, when we first moved here, it was such a gift. Just so amazing. I was in awe of it for several years. Now I kind of take it for granted. So thanks for appreciating it again and appreciate it so I can appreciate it again. It is incredible.
It's so beautiful, and there's the I notice there's like a stillness there. There's like the beauty and the simplicity of just being just that connected to nature. And it's such a draw to me. It's such a draw to me. I'm in Florida. I'm like in South Florida, and I want to be outdoors. I want to be connected to nature. I want to experience all of that. But like yesterday it was like 103 degrees outside. And it's like I can't I'm trapped in South Florida. I'm always having to be indoors just because the air is so thick and humid, you almost choke on it, and the temperatures are so hot that I can't have those moments for more like than 5 and 10 minutes without just completely just being covered in sweat and needing just to run inside and cool off and regulate my body temperature. I really want to move someplace that allows me to just spend more time outdoors for, like, a longer period of time comfortably that I can really connect in that way.
Yeah, the humidity hasn't been bad here this summer, but today it's 98%. So it's a little, it's only 70 degrees at the moment, but it still feels humid, heavy.
Yeah.
So today I meditated on desire, and I was thinking about desire yesterday, having seen the Sound of Freedom movie about child sex trafficking, and just thinking how the sexual desire, which is can be such a beautiful thing, where it brings two people who are committed to one another together and expressing their love and affection. And it's, I think it's especially beautiful in a love relationship where you not only have the sexual component, but you're growing together spiritually and emotionally. And it just, yeah, it's that's probably one of the best things on the planet. But then that gets corrupted. It's like people, you know, they maybe they don't have meaningful relationships, so they just kind of get into a sexual addiction. I think addictions are driven by a feeling of not being loved and not having good relationships, and so you just kind of focus on this thing that gives you pleasure, and that legitimate sexual desire turns into something that causes hurt, it causes pain, it causes harm to others. And it's just, it's so sad. You know, it's a movie about this family where the two of the little kids, a brother and a sister, kidnapped down in Honduras. And they go to a talent agency, and the agent says, "You'll come back at 5. We don't, or come back at 7. We don't allow the parents to be here while we're doing the audition." And then the guy comes back, and his kids are gone. No one's there. And that's about this. It's a true story. It's a CIA agent that actually goes and finds them and brings them back. But anyway, then I got into this thing about a good desire that is well intentioned, and it's like anyone looking at that desire would say, "This person's doing a good job." And I thought about my desire to be a good parent, and it's like, in reflecting on it, it's like I had this assumption that was wrong about parenting, and it hurt my kids. My assumption was I'm there to get them to do the right thing. I am there to get them to do the right thing. And the way I was taught in my little social group is the way you do that, you know, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. And so it's like when my kids would misbehave repeatedly on a certain thing, like it had to be the same thing we dealt with before. But I get out my little wooden dowel. It was like an 8-inch flexible dowel. And if I wasn't really into it, or it wasn't going to be, it wasn't that big a thing, I just spank them without having them, you know, take their pants out. It was really bad though. It's like I get it on the bare bottom. But the thing that was missing there, and it's like I don't even know that that's a good thing at all, because what was missing is this, it's nurture, loving nurture, which is acceptance on a level of just, I am there for you and I want the best for you. And even though I wasn't mad when I was doing this, I don't think I communicated that very well. In fact, I was thinking about my heritage on my dad's side. I know somewhere one of my grandparents on the male side got disowned. Great grandparent, I don't know. They were disowned. And I know my grandpa, it's like I would spend time with him, and I would just kind of follow him around. And he didn't say much to me at all. Like he'd do his woodworking stuff, and I'd just be kind of sitting there, and he'd say a few words, but not much at all. He couldn't connect with me emotionally. So I know that he didn't connect with his dad emotionally. And my dad was an absent dad. When I was growing up, he worked all the time. And so he didn't know how to connect with me emotionally. And it's like, I realized I really didn't know how to connect with my kids emotionally. I didn't even see that as something I needed to do. And it's like, oh my goodness. It's like, oh, how could I have missed that? How could my friends not talk to me about that? And it's it's really impacting right now. But just how that good desire, I got a good intention and everything, but I didn't have the love. And I guess that's maybe why I'm so much into the, well, no, there's more to it than that. But I really want to show up as love. You know, for my kids now, I want to show up with love, and I need to go and tell them all this new revelation that I need to ask their forgiveness because I really blew it when it came to that. And I know as like a kid, I just spent a lot of time alone. It's like I'd ride my bike all over. I'd go to the woods and find streams and look for neat rocks. Then I'd go to the library a lot and get lost in books. Those explore the other worlds with books. And the problem was in my neighborhood, well, I lost my one friend because I was mean to him. And then the other couple friends I got were bullies. And so they weren't that much fun to spend time with. So I was just kind of condemned to being alone all through my grade school years, which is really weird. The only time I got together with friends was to play football or baseball. And it's like I never saw that was just me. It's not like I felt real lonely or anything, but I was lonely. And I was experiencing the pain of not having that emotional bond with a caring father. And so it's like I want to show up as the caring father, the caring brother, the caring friend to everyone now. I just want to show up without judgment and try to connect with them emotionally, you know. Just I'm there for them. It's kind of stuff we talk about in this group all the time. And so this group is so good. And for me, it was a stretch to put myself out there to be a part of this group. Because Janine, you know how long I resisted. You kept asking and asking. No, no. And then one day it's like the voice said, do it. Said, oh,
Steve,
okay, I'll try it.
Steve,
Yeah,
can I ask a question?
you can. Let's go deeper with your questions.
I really get being lonely, right? Because I've always been surrounded by people, but I protect myself so well that I don't always let them in. So I really get that. And I'm wondering if you can forgive yourself, because I have it that you did the best you could with what you had. Like really, I have it because when I hear you, your commitment is in protecting your children, in honoring your wife. And it might have looked the way it looked before, right? Because that's just what you had to work with. But I do believe that who you are is always doing the best that you could with what you have. And how you show up for me here has always been love. Mr. Grumpy a little bit in the beginning. Right? But I love how that energy for me was really your focus and your intentionality.
Thank
And
you.
I think if I was your child, I would be really proud of my father.
Wow. Thank you. And you're right. I did the best I could with what I had and what I knew. I was trying. So I wanted to encourage other fathers though to get that emotional connection with their kids, that nurture thing. And then the admonition is like it's a correction it's a loving correction. It's like, okay, yeah, you're not basically you're not showing love here, and this is how you can do it. And this is the struggle I had with it. And it's like it's possible. You know, you don't have to hit your friend or whatever. There's other alternatives, I struggled with that, I got in fights and stuff. Like, yeah.
Steve, that was absolutely beautiful. That was such a beautiful share. That was such beautiful vulnerability. I can't even tell you how much I appreciate that and that spoke to me. I had, my father was very much the, I didn't see him all that much, you know. He was the disciplinarian and the provider for the family, but everything else was my mom's job. And that's pretty much how the dynamic played out. The nurturing, the kids, everything was my mom's job. He provided the money to support us, to feed us, and everything. And he was that point of fear that, that kept us in check, right? He was a disciplinarian. That was pretty much his role, was to kind of, if you don't straighten up, you're going to go see your father. And he would get the belt out, and um, that would happen. I remember so many times um, being disciplined in front of a crowd of people because we're
Oh,
Puerto Rican, so you got like the family, 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 family all around, and there would be a show of it. Like there would be a show like in front of everybody of us getting beaten and punished. And I know that in my environment, in my family environment, like that was encouraged. Like if your child was out of whack or kind of like acting out, there was like everybody would kind of turn and look at the parents and be like, what are you going to do about that? Are you just going to allow for that to happen? And there had to be a show or a display to kind of like, this is what happened. And it almost was like there was like a whole crowd cheering it on. And
oh,
that really was hard. It was humiliating for me as a kid to have to go through that in front of an audience. And it was very difficult for me. It was a very difficult memory of my life. But when I became a parent, and I became a parent very young, well, I felt like very young. It probably wasn't that young. It was like 22. I became a mom. And I my child, he would act out. Like as he grew older, he would act out. And there was this almost, when I was around my family and my cousins and stuff like that, he would do something, he would make a mistake, he would make an error. And everybody would look at me and they would start chanting like fuerte, 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 which is basically like you're gonna get beaten, like a chant to get beaten. And I wouldn't spank my kid. And I was shamed for it. That I actually felt so embarrassed and shamed that there were several times where I did resort for that because I felt like not doing it. I didn't know what I was doing as a parent. Like this was something that the people around me were telling me that in order to be a good parent, I was supposed to do this. So I did do it. And it felt so wrong. And it felt so heartbreaking for me because I was in that moment, I was continuing the cycle. And I'm so grateful that my stepson came along because my stepson came along pretty early in my life. Um, and he was not my child, so I couldn't touch him. And I had to find other ways to guide him and to offer different sort of choices and different opportunities and different sort of corrections that didn't resort to that. And as a result, that never happened again with any of my kids. Like that wasn't something I did anymore. And as I gotten older and as my oldest gotten older, I actually had sat down and had a conversation with him about that because he remembers those memories. Those things to stay with you. And he remembers it. And I told him, I really messed up there. Like, here's where I was at. And I want you to understand that this wasn't about you, that none of that was about you. This is where I was, and I didn't know what I was doing. And this is what I grew up with and experienced. And this was the environment was. And I didn't make the right choice, but I learned and I knew better and I've grown. And the moment that the moment that I really just try to stand in my power and kind of, not allow my family that much power over how I showed up as a parent was the moment that I changed. But that still happened and I can't erase that. And I apologized. I said, I'm sorry. But I hope, you know, I hope that you know that. And I hope that you're proud of the parent that I became as a result of going through all of that whole process. And it was a really beautiful conversation. And I think it was a conversation that needed to be had because no matter how long young you think they are, like, oh, they won't remember. Oh, they do. They do. Trauma is trauma. And um, it's never too late to have those conversations, Steve.
Mm,
It's never
right.
too late to have those conversations because those conversations heal and those conversations will heal you and they will heal your children and they will heal your relationship and they will heal generations. They will heal generations because they'll be able to have those kind of conversations with their kids when they don't act in alignment with their true selves as a parent. They'll be able to have those conversations with their kids because dad modeled that for me or mom modeled that for me, what those conversations look like and the power those conversations have. And it's just going to affect generations and generations and generations. So hearing you speak this morning and be so vulnerable and hearing the place that you've come to and the awareness that you've come to and where your heart is at gives me so much hope and so much joy for not only for the future of your family and the future of your relationship with your kids, but the future of just society. Like more and more of us come into this awareness and start taking ownership and start really kind of saying, hey, you know what? I was not perfect and I messed up. And that's not who I am. I didn't show up as who I am. And I want to change that. And I still have the time and I still have the power to help change that is one of the most
Beautiful.
beautiful things. So thank you
Beautiful.
for that.
Becky,
Thank you.
Yes, darling.
have you forgiven yourself?
I'm always a work in progress, but I've let a lot of it go. And the conversation was so important for me to have. But being perfectly honest, I'm not proud of myself. And it's a hard thing to know that it's a hard thing for me to acknowledge how much I let outside forces influence me. I think that's the area of where I'm still have anger. I let my cousins and my family members and stuff shame me into resorting to a behavior that wasn't authentic or aligned with me. And if I'm being honest, there's still areas of my life where people are still able to do that and manipulate me in that way or kind of coerce me in that way. And I don't like that. Like I'm still trying to figure out what it is that allows that that I allow that to happen within me. Like, what is it about myself that I'm allowing that to happen? So, roots, yeah, baby, join in.
Okay, so first of all, I have to acknowledge you all for doing the work that you're doing right here, right now. And how dare you not be perfect already? How dare you? Okay. Okay, great. I'm glad everybody got the sarcasm and is laughing at that, okay? Because we have been classically conditioned upon being children as to our way of being. So every single one of you who is taking a pause, sorry, I'm driving. Every single one of you is taking a pause to creating a different and better life for yourself and rippling that out to your children. Thank you. Okay? I had to forgive my mother for how she treated me, but then I also had to recognize that she was a 17-year-old little girl who had me. How dare a 17-year-old person not be perfect? You know? And I think that's part of like why we came to this experience of being, was so that we could learn to love and to forgive each other for our humanness effectively. And you know, I came on at a beautiful time where I got to hear Victoria sharing love with Steve, and then I got to hear Becky triumphing, being amazing at navigating her emotions, right? So it's like, can we accept ourselves for how much growth we are actively doing in the process of our unfoldment, of our beingness? And we all come to it at different times. And guess what? Some people never come to this level right here, right now. So I want each and every one of us to go ahead, lift our hand up, put it across our shoulder, and give ourselves that nice pat on the back that we deserve, because we have been putting in the work to get right here. And if there's even a small part of you that says that you are not enough, I want you to remember that you are better than you were yesterday. And that is the only person we can ever compare ourselves to. Whether it's because we let some people still convince us to do things that we know are not in alignment with us, right? Whether it's following the old patterns of how our parents raised us, whether it's that boyfriend or girlfriend who is a toxic piece of shit, and we still act in the ways that we had to do because they told us that we had to, or they would withhold attention and affection. Sorry, I'm still healing through that one. I even bought food for myself today because I'm gonna go cook, because that's one of the things that I have never given myself back, was the ability to cook, because he was the cook and I couldn't be in the kitchen because of him.
You go to Brian had how many keys?
Hi, Sammy.
Hey,
I love
Sammy.
hearing your.
5 keys.
Hi, buddy.
I didn't know the audio went back on. I just took the phone out of my pocket.
It's okay. It just went back on. We got to hear your beautiful voice.
Thank you. I'm taking Brian to the eye doctor, and I just wanted to listen and be present to everyone's share. The eye. And just so heartfelt. Beep, beep, beep. Thank you for having that for me as I'm getting it ready and feeling some anxiety. But what I'm, you know, everyone share what's showing up for me is, you know, what we talked about in the morning rush. Peter mentioned this. He said, understanding is the poor man's version of acceptance. And so, you know, when I'm trying to connect with my kids, if I'm using my head, I'm not going to get much. I'm not going to get very far. If I'm using my heart, I'm going to get pretty close. And if I'm using my soul, You know, like that's unconditional love. Like, you know, you are me, I am you, and I accept you unconditionally for everything. That's connection, and that's all we truly want. You know, them as a child, me as a child, as an inner child, and even with partners, you know, all relationships. Thank you for everyone's share, and that's what I got from listening to you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, I love you unconditionally. Even our enemies, we can love them unconditionally. And if we show up as love, even with them, there's the power of transforming that relationship when they're ready, of course. At least they won't have further occasion for offense.
Thank you, everyone. I love how you all bridged everyone. And Roots, I think I did call you in because when I was sitting and building bridges, that wasn't my intention then. Because as I see your car, I'm like, oh my gosh, Roots, I literally saw you driving during the first 5 minutes. And I'm grateful you got wherever you're going more safely. But thank you. We buckled up, Buttercup. You just had us arrive. And I'd love to know, where are some of your thoughts in, because it was actually like Sammy had mentioned, we were talking about in the morning rush and what you were sharing about your relationship. Becky and Daniel, but she orchestrated all these questions yesterday around this astrology of like the full moon. Like, where is some of your energy in the relationship that you just spoke, knowing that it allowed you to arrive after a bumpy ride to where you are right now to bring that wisdom into us?
I have been, thank you. First of all, that's a great question. And and I'm present that I have been actively working on practicing gratitude with and for him, for all the lessons that he showed me and all of the ways that, you know, I didn't get to be because of him, but also all the ways that I did get to be. Something I didn't share, but that was really poignant a couple weeks ago, I went to an event where I was able to finally, for the first time in years, really relax my root energy, because I partook in a light BDSM experience and it opened up the platform for me to finally have control over my body. I was allowed, I was given, it wasn't that I was given, it was that my no was received and so was my yes. So all of me was received exactly as I needed in a way that I'd never had before. And maybe not that I never had, but that I was finally cognizant in this now moment of having that receiving. I don't like to speak in absolute language, so with him, and yes, because it is a full moon. Full moons are also about completion. And if anybody wants to jump in, we are doing a tarot group that I would love to invite people in. This current iteration of it is a free iteration. Any donations would go to paying for the Zoom room. That'd be helpful. But we are doing a tarot group that is specifically focusing on the new moon and full moon energy. Our next meeting is on a Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And anybody who's interested, feel free to message or raise your hand now and I'll add you. It's a Facebook Messenger group. Okay, great. So I will add you 3 to it. And then that way you'll be able to see the homework that was prescribed as well last night. And it was so good. 13 moon experience, and then we're just gonna dive in. It's gonna be great. Yeah, I don't know where I was going except for that I just did a shameless plug. And
I'm so proud of you for it. I'm so proud of you. Like I'm sitting here live. I'm like, he asked for contributions and he's plugging his stuff. I am like lit up for you right now. I'm so lit up for you.
And
I
Roots,
have
sorry, I invite you to like really take a look at that. It's not a shameless plug, is that you get to contribute to us.
Selfless plug.
yes, darling. I just needed to say this. I just needed to acknowledge this. Every single one of this, every single one of you is a blessing in my life. But that man right there, that man, Roots, you are one of the most beautiful blessings in my life. And I just cannot tell you how much I just, my soul rejoices in knowing you now. And like, we've only been friends for a couple of weeks, but like, my life is so much greater having you in it, having your energy, being able to pick up the phone and text you about like anything that is coming across or completely random crap. Like, you are a great blessing.
Yeah,
I
you are
love you.
a role model for us, Roots, and showing up in love with the park in New York and here today. And it's like, I think you can develop a whole new genre of tarot, just love tarot or something. It's at the highest dimension of reality.
Oh, that's the Zenith. That's the Zenith, Steve. In case you didn't know, that's my last name for this
Really?
Roots Influx Zenith. Yeah. So it's like you called me right in on it. Yeah. Because that is what tarot is for the highest evolution of our consciousness. But so many people get caught up in, am I going to be the love of my life? No, not with that attitude.
Well, yeah, you can do tarot to have your ego needs met, and then you can be tarot to become the love you can become, and you don't feel like you get your needs met, but actually you do get your needs met when we show up as love, you know. But so there's this resistance. We don't feel like it a lot of times, and we don't have the role models. We weren't socialized that way. Whatever. It's like so. It's
Wow.
a process to get there.
Roots,
So
I
true.
never thought I'd hear Steve say that about tarot. My word, Steve. I am in awe of myself right now that I heard that. Listening.
It is. I think that is the best framework that I've ever heard tarot is a way to love yourself, a way to witness yourself in this present moment so as to create further alignment for your next future experiences of being. For those of y'all who know, my business name is Present Moment Alignment and has been for like 3 years. So it is an appropriate name, I'm gonna say.
Well, what it is, it's a circle. You know, we love ourselves, and we're able to love others, and we're able to love ourselves, and we're able to love others, and it's just this whole complete unifying field of consciousness
I'll
I
take
that
find
we
the
can
best
move
way,
into.
go for
I
it,
find
Roots.
I find the best way to love others is to first fill up our own cup
Right?
before trying to fill up everyone else's. And I don't know about y'all, but I know I for sure was classically trained that I had to take care of everybody else's needs before I could take care of my own. And if I wasn't, then I was yelled at. So,
Right. And that became your reality. In order for me to have significance, I meet the needs of others. And it's like it's an addiction, really. You know, it's like I have to perform to be significant. And it's like, but if you got nothing to perform with, you know, and you're on empty, it's like, no, it's not going to work for anybody. So you're right, you know, fill your cup and then it overflows to others. Beautiful stuff.
You guys, I was listening to what we were saying, right? And consider, we are already it. Like, there's nothing to strive to. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing that's missing. I got that we got to live experiences that had us be here. Without those, we would not be here. And we keep on having experiences, right? But there's nothing that's missing. We're already baked. We're already perfect in our imperfection. And there's nothing that's missing. And there's nowhere to go.
I am 100% there with you. For me, it's just removing all the bullshit that everything else. Like, I see myself as like, you know, like in winter where you just layer and you layer up and then like you keep warm. Like, you naked underneath is absolute perfection. We gotta start taking off all that other bullshit that we attached, that we learned, that we were programmed with, that we allowed to attach onto ourselves, that we put on. And when you start pulling all that stuff away, you start getting to see you naked, beautiful, full, light, perfect in everything. I'm
Did you get
off.
naked in front of the mirror, Becky?
No.
Will you
Not
get
yet.
naked in front of the mirror?
I will. But I have the mama pouch. You know, the mama pouch is very real. And the mama
Well, I really
Mama,
got that.
that's your portal.
I really get it. I have the mama pouch without the kids. So at least you have the added benefits.
See, the thing is like my mama pouch is just kind of like this empty hanging skin that's just kind of like collapsed on itself because there's nothing inside of it. And it
And
should
what are
be
you
empowering
making
to me.
Yeah, what are you making it mean, Becky? Huh?
Oh my goodness. You know what it feels like? It's just kind of like I don't know. For some reason, it feels like it's freeloading on me. Like it's just it's just like hanging on my body. It's freeloading on me. I don't know. I don't know what I'm making it mean. It's just really hard for me. It's really hard for me.
Becky, based on an exercise you taught us, saying hard sounds heavy. And so,
Yes, right?
what I
It
acknowledge,
is heavy.
yeah, what I acknowledge is that acceptance that it is worthy of love. And wherever your exercise is, that you get to practice standing with your uncloaked self, like you're going to do, and then share with me and Victoria and everyone who's present, whenever we are free to come back together, what it meant for you to practice until it felt light, and that you accepted it is the way it is because of everything it's gifted you in your beautiful queendom with all of your beautiful children.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know how it feels already, and I'm not even the one doing the exercise.
I feel like I don't want to really dive deep into it. I'm in resistance to diving deep into it, but like I feel like it's connected a lot. Like my nakedness is connected a lot with my sexual abuse. And it's painful. It makes me feel really, really ultra vulnerable. And it's a lot of painful emotions that come with it for me that I just don't want to give too much power or attention to, so I try to avoid it.
Girl, you just taught a workshop yesterday about this.
Sometimes we get the work that we ourselves need to be doing.
Yes, it's an opportunity. It's because you need the work too. It's just as much for you as for anybody else. And I'm not one of those people that will ever deny that. Like I don't try.
Becky.
I think that's part of my power is that I'm real about it. Like it's not easy. It's there's still places, and you'll always find places that you get triggered in, and it's just knowing that that's another area that you're gonna work on. That's another area that you need to feel into. That's another area that you need to heal. And that is an area that requires a lot of support and understanding for me to work through. That to ask for that is asking for a lot. Especially from adults that like have lives and their own shit going on. Like,
hey Becky, what if it wasn't a lot? What if there was literally somebody who was like ready to do that type of work that was already with you? Oh, look at Victoria immediately raising her hand, fully present in the conversation, ready to jump in with this work. What if it wasn't a lot? What if that a lot is another way of putting weight on it that says that I'm not enough for this? There's another factor of that, like, you are enough to deserve the type of work that you need, that you're calling out for in this moment, and that you are supported by this group right here, right now. Can you feel that in your body? Can maybe you put your hands on your root chakra, your lower area, and just be like, it is safe right now for me to feel this very muchness, and that I am held and supported by this community right here, even while I got some fear going on. But I ain't gonna let the fear steer anymore. Instead, I'm gonna sit with it and hold that little girl inside who is experiencing this very muchness, and let her know that she is safe.
you know,
Yeah.
a therapist, who worked with me through my PTSD, she said this very beautifully to me. She's like, you were in a woods, and in the course of you going through the woods, you encountered unspeakable horrors in your lifetime, and you had to survive. You had to get out. And so what you did is you left a piece of yourself behind to fight whatever that was, so that the rest of you could get out. And she says, now you're out, and you know the way out, and you see the way out, you see what's on the other side, and you have to go back, and you have to rescue all those different pieces of yourself, because they're still back there fighting, and they're still back there battling all the whores. And what I told her in that moment is that I felt so much shame that I left them behind to survive, that I felt so selfish. And it's very, very hard for me to reclaim those parts of myself because I don't know, there's still a guilt and a shame in it for me. There's still a guilt and a shame that I forgot about them.
But Becky, right now, you're right there with them. And we can't compare ourselves to what we did yesterday. But right here, you are witnessing them. You're wanting them to be loved, wanting them to be supported. And so can we give that to them right now? May the four of us be this pillar of strength for you right now to know how supported you are, right? Four is foundation, structure, security. You are supported right now as you are moving through those old stories that you have been telling yourself about shame, about you not being enough, about that, you know, what all the stories that we might tell ourselves. But those are the two that I know that you shared with us. But that it's safe right now, that those old stories are not happening to your body right now. And while your body may not fully remember that, you get to walk in your beautiful flowing pink energy with this just pure divine essence of love and go and talk and be with those places in your side and remind them they're okay, that they're safe, that those memories, they did happen, but they are not happening right now, and that you are safe now. You have a beautiful companion, you have beautiful children, you have a beautiful home, you have a beautiful connection and community of people ready to stop everything in their life right now to be right here with you because you are worthy and because you are enough.
Thank you, darling. And you know what? This reminds me, babe, you need to record the safety download. I don't like, not only do I need that, the world needs that. Like, he gave me this beautiful, it was for himself, but he gave it to me too. Were these beautiful downloads of safety and feeling safe and standing in safe. And safety is such a huge thing for me because for most people that have gone through great deals of trauma, like, safety is like it's paramount. It's huge, and it's something that probably is what if I'm being completely honest, is what I'm seeking the most is safety. I need to feel safe. I need a place where I feel safe. And
I got you. It's on my homework for the day. I got you.
okay, darling. Yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you. And just to kind of bring it full circle back, I don't know why, but this is popping up for me. And I don't know how it's going to contribute to anything, but I'm just going to go with it because it's being brought up. Steve, when you were mentioning when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I walked into a situation. I was in acting. Back then I studied acting. I was going to school for musical theater and all that other stuff. And I answered a call for an audition. And luckily I brought my boyfriend with me at the time. And it was in a house. And I walked into the house and the house was completely empty. And it had no furniture in it, and it had nothing in it except a group of men And I immediately felt alarm bells go off that something was wrong here. And my boyfriend had walked in like right behind me, and they were very upset and agitated that I had somebody there with me. And they kept
Mm.
trying to get me alone in a room to do this audition, and they were being very evasive about what this audition was about. So I just left. I ran. I grabbed my boyfriend and I ran, and I just started running to the car, and I was like, get in, drive, 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 drive. Let's get out of here. We have to get out of here. We have to get out of here. And
Oh.
I went back as an adult, like right before I had Chloe. My church has they have a safe house for young girls that they rescue from trafficking, and
Mm.
they had a lot of public education on sex trafficking, and I became a part of the education team through my church of educating people about sex trafficking. And that was exactly the scenario that so many women step into, where they get abducted and they get sold. And I'm so grateful that I listened to my intuition. I'm so grateful that my my sense of safe, my thing of safety, if never feeling safe, I always have to bring somebody with me. Like I don't like to go anywhere alone. I need a point of safety where I feel safe and secure, that I had somebody there, because that was such an issue for me. Like had I not had somebody there with me, it could have been a very different situation for me. But I had somebody there, and I knew enough about to listen to myself when something felt wrong, to not care about like how ridiculous I look. I just bolted. Like I like ran. And um that's part of my trauma still too, because I was like, after everything that I went through, I was, for those of you, I'm gonna be fully honest, just so that you have an awareness. I was molested as a young child. I was raped as a teenager. I was raped in college. I was raped as an adult. I was almost trafficked. I was in relationships where I was cheated on and trust was broken and stuff like that. There's just levels upon levels upon levels upon levels of trauma that I've experienced in this lifetime. And just one of those things is a lot, but you add them all up, and that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But thank you for allowing me to share that. I just feel like
Betty,
it's important to know about me.
thank you for sharing that with us. Do you see that when you allow yourself to be you, your instincts show up? You protect yourself. You get to know what works and what doesn't, unlike in the past. And all of that, as hard as it may be, is what has you be with us on this path where you're at, with the children that you have, with the heart that you have, with the love that you have. And yeah, it takes work. It's not a walk through the park. And when you choose to, if you choose to, we're here.
We're queer. Get used to it.
That's right.
I went through something called a healing of the memories, probably in my mid-20s. And now I can't even remember what the memories were that were healed, but I think it was like loneliness. Just, I think it was lonely, not having a father in my life because my dad always worked at night and stuff. And it just, there was this void. And it's like, in that case, that type of healing of the memories, that involves, allowing Jesus to come alongside with you and witness what you went through and experience the fact that Jesus, Jesus, the Logos who spoke creation into existence. So is the Logos, the means of creation. It's like that high power, that high personage knows your pain, shares your pain, and actually felt your pain. It was inflicted on him as well as you. Because whoever is inflicting pain on us, they are the pain. They are the suffering, they are the source of that negativity in our life. And like for me, it was just so healing, just to experience that. And I just suggest that to you too, as an alternative as well. If that's another possibility. It's called healing of the memories.
You guys, this is gonna sound terrible, right?
Do it.
But I love, well, I'm learning to love those moments when reality occurs to me as I am broken, right? Because in those moments, I get to just be with that conversation and thank it. If I have not lived what I've lived, I wouldn't be able to connect with people the way I connect.
Right.
I wouldn't have my special powers.
Really, for sure.
And I also am there are times where I like when I feel small and broken, because sometimes it's like, it gives me a reason to want to be loved, right? And I get to see that. Like, I have a yearning for love, and I have to have a reason for why I want to be loved. Like, if me just being me is not enough. So I get to, like, it sounds however it sounds, right? But I get to be with myself in those spaces. And what I'm doing now is that I grab my stomach and I hug myself. I grab my stomach and I hug myself. And I tell me that it's okay, that I love me, that I got me, and that I'm never going to be alone. And then I share it. Because there is a conversation, I think, in all human beings where we don't feel like we're enough. And we have to have reasons and validations for why we deserve to be loved.
Mm.
And that's why I love for no reason.
Thank you.
So powerful,
Thank
Victoria.
you.
We just had another major truth download.
This is such a beautiful, like, real conversation. I love these are so delicious, where we're just real and raw and honest. And like right now, I'm just laid a lot of myself out. And I am in this moment celebrating, like, how freaking proud I am to be carrying that truth and to be who I am today and to be the what I'm doing today and to be that light. Like this is like a moment. But like I remember I went to a therapist and we worked through a lot and she just stared there. She was staring at me and she's like, I don't even know how you're functioning this well. Like nevertheless, how like, she's like, this is very I don't see this often at all. Somebody who's been through so much trauma and just to have you're like you're an optimistic for the most part. You have a very happy, joyful nature. Like this isn't something that you see. And it's like, I worked my ass off on, on processing stuff and I worked hard at communicating with God and I worked hard about seeking the truth in who I am. And it's a battle and it's a choice and it's work that I do every single day. And I'm so freaking proud of myself. And I'm so freaking proud of how I still continue to learn every day and how I still continue to grow every day. And that I'm still sharpening that and I'm still changing my perspective and I'm changing the way that I see things and I'm changing the way that I see myself. And I just feel like each and every one of us here are doing that same sort of work. And I just feel like, heck yeah, like this moment, like pause to freaking celebrate. Like, like pause to freaking celebrate.
Thank you for that, Becky. Because like we know this is what the work looks like. It's to get to that level of what comes up for us when the world reminds us that it can be silent. And then when all of the scintillating factors come in and remind us that when it's not silent, we get to celebrate. All of the wins, all of the losses, all the repeated lessons that, like Steve had said earlier, just reminds us in every breath we are love, and in every exhalation we give love. And anytime we forget that pattern, just realize maybe we're holding our breath. And I would love to know, because that is one of my biggest ebb and flows I take from today's beautiful conversation, where else everyone else is that we get to celebrate what we've created and manifested, at least in today's celebration of collaboration, and not only how we are in action, but how we are in conversation with people who know of us and who are about to find out how much alike they are with us.
Janine, you were sharing about meaningful relationships, and I think if we wanted to summarize quickly, it's like meaningful relationships are loving relationships where we're not judged and condemned, but we're just accepted for where we're at. And meaningful relationships are really meaningful. We're on a mutual growth path. We're all pointed in that direction of being the best version of ourselves, as you often tell us. And that is it's something that we are evolving into, and as we evolve into that, it's a joyous thing. And there's pain and stuff we need to look at. If we're holding on to that pain, if it's still there, then it needs to be gotten down to zero. It's one way of looking at it. It needs to be released. It needs to be forgiven. It needs to be let go. It needs to be examined for what it was. It needs to be appreciated for what it was, and making us into the person we are now, who can relate to people who are experiencing the same sort of suffering. Because that suffering is cutting them off from love and it's keeping them stuck, But if someone could come alongside and share that suffering, who suffered the same thing, and to love them unconditionally, it's like that is the cure. And I did, like I said earlier in the week, I did prison ministry on Sunday, and it's just all those boys and girls from broken homes, basically. They weren't loved. And so they found love in their peers and and all that stuff, and went down a bad path. They got them in trouble with the law, but it's like, they're just looking for love. And it's like, if someone shows up with love, it's just transformative. for them, for us, for everyone. And so as we make love our intention and learn to practice it, it's like it's a new day every day. The eternal moment becomes the divine moment.
Mm.
And we are manifesting the divine. Your love. So thank you all for this time and each individual contribution. And Roots, thank you for once again being just such a model of that in your practice. And
I
Ginny,
just
you too.
doobie doo, baby. I just doobie doo. That's all
And
I got for you.
Victoria, you too.
Thank you guys. I was having a really difficult morning, but it's because I was attached to my pain.
At some point we have to let it go, release, forgive. But we have to experience it first. I think that's a big lesson. Because if we're, oh, it's too painful, I gotta repress it, repress it. It's no, it's still there. And it's gonna erupt at the most inconvenient moments. But yeah, so we need to address the pain. And it's exciting to see a group like this is addressing our pain together today and finding healing together today. So thank you all. And knowing that we have this opportunity on a daily basis, who am I going to say that they will seek to be a part of this divinely creative meditation group again tomorrow?
I'm here for it.
Thank you for that, Steve, and for all of us. Thank you, because I
I'm queer
realize
for
that,
it too.
yeah, the most valuable thing we have is our time, and so thank you for having a in time divine, like, put everything aside to be there for someone who really needed us. And Victoria, I'm just so grateful for your queendom.
Yeah, your questions are very powerful, Victoria. Thank you.
I mean, I only get to be because you guys hold the space. And it's safe for me to be because you guys hold the space.
Yeah.
Thank you for reciprocating it.
I love you guys so much.
Love you all.
Love you too.